the first time I came was like the first time I had been out of the country. And I spent a year in Michigan, and then I went back to Spain. I was taking private lessons of after school in English. But one thing is to take classes, and a different thing is to be put with the family in the middle of rural Michigan, and trying to articulate thoughts and go to class and in high school and taking government and journalism and some other random elective courses. But it took me so I got there in August, and I think by Christmas I was able to fully function in the second language.
Yeah.
So it took me a few months to, put all the theory that I had learned in the classroom in practice on a daily basis. Because see, in that year in that high school, you're looked at as an exchange student, and the school had a number of exchange students prior to, from Germany, Belgium, France, Italy. So I think the quote unquote audience, so the students were used to having, that exotic person from outside Michigan, so no, it was more about, learning about where you came from and those kinds of things, rather than, a negative view of, a foreign person. So I remember playing in the high school football team as a kicker. So that, that was a really an incredible highlight because of my time, because I got to, be part of the smaller community within the high school community. So there were a lot of opportunities to interact outside, class and during practice and during games, and parents were very involved in those, Friday night games and traveling with the team and that kind of thing. So I think that culturally and socially, I think it's a complete different environment. And then I guess migrated to the U.S. for graduate school. So not necessarily with the intention to remain in the United States, but the opportunities of going to graduate school for a master's program and next to for a PhD were pretty appealing at the time.
So as far as like education wise, your opportunities that you received here were more appealing than...
Oh, absolutely, because I did have scholarships or teaching assistantships for both master's and PhD programs. So that covered a lot of the actual cost of graduate school in the U.S. So naturally, after I finished my PhD, naturally looking for jobs in the States became a real possibility, and 17 years later, here we are. In graduate school, during my master's program, that's where my wife and I met. And then I continued on to a PhD program, whereas she taught public school at the same time when we moved to the state of Maryland. And then from that point on, we did get married, and now we have 3 kids. So, as time went by and I started working in Mary Washington, it was very clear that, this is where your life was going to be. For us, around Christmas time, the 3 wise men, or Los Reyes Magos, was always a big deal. It was it. There's no really Santa Claus version of getting gifts on the 25th.
In Spain.
No. So my kids here in the States have not really experienced that part of that, cultural. So it's completely different, the way we grew up celebrating Christmas and the way my kids are growing up in the States in that sense. I think it's always a perception that you're going to have of an immigrant or somebody that is different than you, and you perceive that person to be of, I want to say, maybe a lower class. I think you can, when you think about the language in the U.S., I mean, where my wife is from, in upstate New York, there is a difference between the white people and what the white people call white trash. and they think that the white trash is just like you said, it's bunching up opportunities and social welfare. And they're not, they're as U.S. citizens as anybody else. So I think it's definitely a perception, but I think generally, when people leave their country with a purpose, they do it because they want to have a better life.
7, 8.
I'm from Egypt. I was born and raised in Cairo, Egypt. So I moved here when I was 10 years old, so that was about 12 years ago. The education system was kind of failing in Egypt, and they could see that, and they wanted to give us the best education possible so that we can really like flourish and have good careers when we grow up. So they were like, and we had family here. A lot of our family had already immigrated to the U.S. prior to us, so there was a lot of encouragement from them to come here for better opportunities just in general for our family. There's a lot of persecution and like obviously terrorism in Egypt, so faith is a very like touchy topic, and here it's like everyone's free to believe what they want to believe, to do what they want to do. So that was definitely something else that they chose America for. Growing up in Egypt is very conservative. You don't talk about certain things, you never mention certain things, you don't do certain things, and it's just like no questions asked. Whereas here it was very like eye-opening to come and be like, everyone is very open about not just their politics, but like just their life in general, like where certain things would be very taboo. So just that major shift of openness was kind of weird. So we came to Virginia. That was the first place we came, and we stayed with my aunt for like a year or two, I think. And then my parents were looking for jobs, so like they were constantly applying and trying to find work, and slowly we built up the money to like get an apartment and then get a house. Most of my family's here. The only people that are left is my dad's brother and like his family. But my dad's family had 7 siblings, and yeah, so they're all here minus one brother who's still in Egypt. And then just like extended family, obviously, like my cousins, like my dad's cousins and like extended family, they're all still in Egypt. Yeah. Stereotyping for sure. Like I'll always get asked whenever I say, yeah, I'm from Egypt, the first thing I would be asked is usually like, oh, did you live in a pyramid? Or did you ride a camel to school? That kind of thing is very common. I think it's just out of people like not knowing that Egypt has modernized past that stage, or like that we have actual roads and cars and stuff. But that was when I was younger. It doesn't happen as often now, but that would be like the major stereotype. But I don't think I've ever experienced overt racism, but also I feel like it could be like microaggressions that I'm not aware of, that like recently I've been more aware of, like picking up on it, but there's never been any like specific thing where someone talked down to me or thought less of me because I was, an Egyptian American. At first, coming to UMW was very intimidating because I didn't see anyone like me. But as soon as I moved into Fremar House, that's when things really changed. Like I started meeting people who have had the same experiences, who have immigrated here or have been raised in a different culture and different values and different beliefs, and it helped me like feel more comfortable having moved here and into this house, to see that I'm not alone in that experience, and that there's people here that you can form community around. So I definitely think I do feel welcomed at UMW to an extent. Like in this house, sometimes outside it's a little bit more difficult for people to connect with me on certain levels, because a lot of people don't have the same experiences. So it just depends on who we're talking about, who I'm with. But definitely in Fremar I feel welcome. I am a double major in communications and sociology. Major like interest is just like what I would want to do when I grow up would be like humanitarian aid, so working with UNICEF would be like my ultimate goal. Anything that helps build countries, third world countries abroad, providing education to children, that kind of thing is my major interest. In terms of hobbies, I dance a lot. That's like the thing that I do. So I'm in PAC, which is a performing arts company on campus. And then I'm in Bhangra, which is like a Punjabi style of dance. And then I'm on step team. Definitely miss Egypt. I miss home. I miss a lot of the things, the cultural aspects, and like the more community kind of. There's more emphasis on community in Egypt, and like here is more individualistic. So I do for sure miss that. But overall, I think if I had stayed there, I wouldn't have had the same level of opportunity as I have here and access to things as I have here. So it's definitely something that I'm grateful for that my parents did for me.
Hi, my name is Amina, and I'm a representative for the Black Student Association. I will begin to call the names of African and African American community ancestors first. As a group, after each name is called, I invite you to respond with Ashe, meaning it is so. We pour liberation for Harriet Tubman, who led over 300 slaves to freedom.
Ashe.
We pour liberation for Malcolm X.
Ashe.
Martin Luther King.
Ashe.
Sojourner Truth.
Ashe.
W.E.B. Du Bois.
Ashe.
James Farmer.
Ashe.
We pour liberation for our parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles.
Inagwana, Bagajia, Lafialo. My name is Amina Abdullahi. I'm a freshman and I'm from Nigeria. My mom is from here. She's from DC. But my dad was born and raised in Nigeria, and he came here when he was in college. And later on he met my mom, and they decided to move back to Nigeria to be with our family. And my two older brothers, who are 2 years older than me, both of them went to school in Nigeria. They went to a private school that was English though, they taught American studies and stuff like that. And my mom decided that she wanted to be closer to her family, so they eventually made the trip back here. But it's, I don't know, it's getting difficult, I guess, for my dad, because all of our friends and close family moved back to Nigeria on his side. His closest best friend, our uncles, everyone has already left and moved back to Nigeria, so he's the only one still here with us. We go back every couple years or so, but that's something that my dad has made it's top priority for him. The fact that we didn't lose that touch that we had with his family or his side of the family, despite the hardships it would be for him. He would have to write letters and stuff to the Nigerian embassy, and then he would have to go through immigration and tell them way ahead of time that he wanted to leave the country, and it was always such a hassle for him, but he made it very important for us to be there and go there. And it's influenced me more so in not even just culture, but also religiously. I'm Muslim, and my mom, she became Muslim, but she's from here, so she wasn't raised Muslim or anything. So for her, she's a lot more laid back, and she's very easy, and she's more, I guess, westernized, how people would say. And my dad is very traditional, so he liked keeping that touch with culture at all times. So when we go back to Nigeria, it's the same thing we always do. We live in our family house, we're constantly surrounded by our family. Even when we're talking to them on the phone, we're not allowed to speak in English. We have to speak in Hausa to them. And it's weird because they know English, they all can speak English too. My dad, he originally studied to become an engineer, and he worked as an engineer in the United States for I think about 10 years. But eventually he lost his job, and that was due to his immigration status. So there was a lot of conflict on his citizenship, and that's something he has just been able to completely obtain his full status with dual citizenship, I think 3 years ago, even though he's been here for 27 years. So it's been a lot of back and forth with that. So after he lost his job as an engineer, he started his own company, and like it's called General Maintenance Services, and basically anything to do with the house. He had trade skills from his father that he learned, like carpeting, painting, electrical, plumbing, so he can do all of that stuff. And he started that business. And he's had that, and he still has that to this day, and that's what he's been doing. You're thinking I wanted to do political science and like eventually go into law school. Now I'm not sure about my political science major, but I know I still want to go into law school because of my family's background and the struggles that my dad personally had because he wasn't from here. I'm like really motivated to go into law and become a lawyer, and I want to like specialize in like constitutional law or maybe civil rights law, and he's very passionate about for me to do something with international law, so that's a big dream of mine. I wear hijab, you know, I wear a scarf, so it's very blatant that I'm different from other people, but my background or my tradition, my cultural background and my roots are not something people necessarily know. You know, they can't look at me and say that I'm from Nigeria or I'm from a different country. But it's definitely something that I like to mention. Like, I like to make it like known that yes, I have this and yes, I have this, but there's also something else that distinguishes me from like thinking of me as like your typical person, like your typical average black person or your typical average black girl. Like, there's something about me that makes me different too from all of those stereotypes as well. One where it's like there's a person that's judging because they really don't know, and it's like their own ignorance, so I can't sometimes blame them for it. So I try and like explain, you know, I give them the background that they need, you know. Yes, I'm a different religion, yes, I'm from a different place, but at the same time, I've been basically raised here, you know. I consider America my home just as much as I consider Nigeria my home, you know. So it's like, what exactly would you be saying, you know, telling me to go back to where I came from or go back home? I have homes, I have 2 homes, I have multiple homes. So it's like, which one are you talking about? And then I have like another approach in me that says like, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you just using your brain? Why aren't you just thinking? And it's like wanting to be more forceful in the way I talk about it, you know, wanting to just be completely like, no, that's not what I am. This is what I am. Understand what I am or don't speak to me. So it's like, I don't know, I have 2 different approaches and like 2 different attitudes towards it, and I feel like it really depends on like the type of person and the way they approach me.
I'm a freshman here at University of Mary Washington. I'm from Ghana, West Africa. I came here at the age of 8 in between 2007 and 8. It was like during the winter time. We won a lottery and it brought us here. And my parents wanted me to come here because they wanted me to have more opportunities for my education. In Ghana, we had to pay for our school fees and stuff like that, even when we were transition from kindergarten to 12th grade, and our education was more than here, but it was very expensive. My mom had me when she was in college, and so she gave me up to my grandmother to take care of me. So my grandma has been speaking English to me ever since like I was born. I won't lie to you, first time I came here, well actually before I came here, I was very sad. So I cried at the airport in front of the security guards so that they could take me back home, but that didn't work out. Here I am. I still eat the same food my mom makes at Ghana and here. Food is like the major part of like what because we can't like, we try new things, we love trying new things, but like we still eat the same kind of food all the time. Whenever my parents go back home to see family and stuff, they bring back a couple of gifts for us, especially clothes. We love clothes. So I have a couple of clothes at home that like are from Ghana that I wear. Like one thing that shocked me about Ghana and here is that in Ghana we don't really hear anybody like killing each other or murdering each other. Here I heard it a lot. So that was one big concern that like really concerned me. But I started school at Ghana, and then when I came here, I started off in 3rd grade. And in 3rd grade, I remember I was called Booty Butt Scratcher. Yeah, that was funny. I thought that was funny. But I also got made fun of for like the color of my skin. But I got over that easily because I met a very good friend of mine from Kenya. He's my best friend, and he just made me happy about being black and being very black. So that was, I owe it all to him. I would actually say don't judge a book by its cover, because honestly, like, we're all the same. We all have same structures, we all have bones, we all bleed the same blood, but you know, but I would say don't judge a book by its cover, because what truly makes you a special person is the heart. So always, if you're curious about something, you know, ask questions. It doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah.